The distress signal arrived on Earth at 3:27 a.m. on a quiet Tuesday. Daniel Klein had been half asleep in his chair at the Arecibo Observatory, his coffee long cold beside stacks of data printouts. The computer alert jolted him awake. It wasn't unusual to detect signals from space, but this one pulsed with a mathematical precision that couldn't be natural. "Susan, you need to see this," Daniel called to his colleague who was monitoring another system across the room. Susan Miller walked over, still typing notes on her tablet. "What is it this time?" "Another pulsar." "No, look at the pattern." Daniel pointed to the screen where the signal created an unmistakable sequence of prime numbers. "This is artificial. Someone sent this." Susan's eyes widened as she reviewed the data. "Have you confirmed it's not from one of our satellites or some military transmission?" "First thing I checked. It's coming from the Cygnus region, about 42 light-years out. There's nothing human out there." Within hours, the observatory was filled with government officials, military personnel, and NASA representatives. The signal had been verified by 3 other radio telescopes across the globe. In a hastily assembled meeting room, Dr. Karen Mitchell from NASA's Exobiology Department addressed the group. "This is clearly a distress call. The mathematical sequence is followed by what appears to be technical data, specifications, coordinates, something about energy systems." General Frank Warren frowned. "How can you be sure it's a distress call and not a prelude to invasion?" "The repetition pattern is consistent with emergency protocols," Karen explained. "And the signal strength is degrading slightly with each transmission, suggesting failing power systems." Across the vast emptiness of space, Fleet Commander Zintar stood on the bridge of the flagship vessel, staring at the holographic displays showing the status of the Vedran fleet. 87 ships carrying over 30,000 civilians and crew, all stranded when their quantum drives simultaneously failed during a routine journey. "How long can we maintain life support?" Tar asked his chief engineer. "2 standard cycles at current efficiency," Zelna replied, her crystalline features reflecting the dim emergency lighting. "The energy reserves are depleting faster than projected." "And communications?" "The emergency beacon continues to broadcast, but we've received no response from any Vedran outposts." Zintar's facial ridges darkened with concern. Their location was too far from established routes for random encounter, and the nearest Vedran colony was beyond communication range. They had sent the distress signal more out of protocol than hope. Back on Earth, debate raged about how to respond. "If we answer, we reveal our existence," warned National Security Advisor Bill Jackson. "We don't know what's out there." Karen Mitchell stood her ground. "If we don't answer, we're turning our backs on potentially the most important moment in human history." "They need help." President Laura Hayes listened carefully before speaking. "Dr. Mitchell, what would you propose we send?" "A simple mathematical response first, to establish basic communication. Then technical information about our capabilities. If they're truly in distress, they need to know if we can actually help them." 3 days later, after intense diplomatic and scientific collaboration, Earth transmitted its first intentional message to an alien civilization. In the cold silence of the disabled Vedran flagship, a communications officer's eyes widened. "Commander, the beacon has received a response." Zintar rushed to the console, not believing what he was hearing. In centuries of space travel, no Vedran distress signal had ever received a response from an unknown species. "The signal origin is a planetary system we have no record of contact with," the officer reported. "Can we translate it?" Zintar asked. "It appears to be a mathematical acknowledgement, followed by technical specifications. I believe they're offering assistance." For the first time since the fleet became stranded, Zintar felt something like hope. "It seems," he said quietly, "we are no longer alone out here." The humans took only 23 days to prepare their mission. NASA's fastest vessel, the Endeavour, was retrofitted with experimental propulsion systems based partly on theories derived from the alien transmission. The crew consisted of 6 specialists: Colonel Jack Wilson as commander, Dr. Olivia Grant for linguistics, Paul Blackwell and Lisa Carter as engineers, Dr. Sam Bennett as medical officer, and Major Diane Foster for security. You understand this is humanity's most important mission, President Hayes told them before departure. We know almost nothing about these aliens, the veterans, as they call themselves. Your job is to help if possible and establish peaceful contact. The journey took 11 days, pushing the Endeavor's new engines to their limits. When they finally approached the coordinates indicated in the distress signal, the crew fell silent at the sight before them. "My God," whispered Jack as he stared at the view screen. Dozens of massive ships hung motionless against the backdrop of an orange dwarf star. Each alien vessel was at least 4 times larger than the largest human spacecraft ever built. Their design featured smooth, overlapping segments that resembled pearl shells with faint blue energy patterns pulsing across their surfaces. "They're beautiful," said Olivia, already recording everything for linguistic analysis. Paul studied the engineering readouts. "Those ships are huge. How could something disable their entire fleet?" Lisa pointed to energy readings. "Their power systems are running at minimal levels. They're conserving everything they have." The Endeavor approached cautiously, broadcasting the same mathematical sequence they had sent from Earth. Almost immediately, lights illuminated on the largest vessel, creating a path toward what appeared to be a docking area. "I guess that's an invitation," Jack said, maneuvering toward the indicated spot. Inside the veteran flagship, Commander Zintar prepared to meet the unknown species. Internal scans had shown the approaching craft contained biological life forms much smaller than veterans. "Remember," he instructed his reception team, "these beings responded to our distress when no one else did. Whatever they look like, whatever their customs, they deserve our respect." The docking was completed with surprising smoothness. After confirming atmospheric compatibility, the human crew prepared to exit their ship. Olivia had worked tirelessly to create a basic translation program based on the mathematical communications they had shared. "Ready?" Jack asked his team, who nodded nervously. The airlock opened to reveal 3 tall aliens waiting in a large chamber. The veterans stood nearly 8 feet tall, with crystalline ridges along their foreheads and arms. Their skin had a faint bluish tint, and their 4 eyes, 2 large central ones and 2 smaller ones above, blinked in what seemed like surprise. Olivia stepped forward slowly, activating her translation device. "We come from Earth. We received your distress signal and have come to offer assistance." The tallest veteran moved forward, towering over the humans. Through their own translation system, a deep voice responded, "I am Fleet Commander Zintar. For 12 cycles we have been stranded, our quantum drives non-functional. No species has ever answered our call before. We couldn't ignore someone who needed help," Jack said simply. Zintar's upper eyes blinked rapidly. "Your technology appears primitive compared to ours. How do you propose to assist?" Paul stepped forward. "Sometimes fresh eyes see solutions others miss. We'd like to examine your drive systems." The veterans exchanged looks that seemed skeptical, but Zintar nodded. "We will show you. But I must warn you, our fleet carries 30,000 lives. Our supplies will last only another 15 days by your time measurement." "Then we'd better get started," Lisa said confidently, though she exchanged worried glances with Paul. As the humans followed the aliens deeper into the massive ship, they noticed the dim lighting, the cold temperature, and signs that the veterans were rationing everything. Despite their impressive technology, they were genuinely desperate. For both species, this first meeting was filled with uncertainty, but also with something neither had expected: hope. Paul Blackwell had never seen anything like the veteran quantum drive. It filled a chamber larger than a football field, with crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them. The alien engineers had opened access panels throughout the system, showing a level of technology centuries beyond human capability. "The quantum resonance field should establish synchronization with normal spacetime," explained Tejanar, the veteran chief engineer. but the field collapses within moments of activation. Lisa Carter ran her scanner over a glowing blue component. This material, what is it? Processed xanthium, replied Tejanar. It maintains quantum coherence during transit. Paul and Lisa exchanged looks. They had never heard of such an element, but both recognized they were seeing principles of physics humans had only theorized about. Can we see the system diagnostics? Paul asked. The veterans displayed holographic readouts of previous jump attempts. Paul studied them carefully, noticing a pattern in the failures. There's something interfering with your field generation, he said. The collapse happens at the same frequency each time. Lisa pointed to her scanner. I'm detecting unusual radiation from the nearby star. It's pulsing at exactly that frequency. The veterans seemed surprised. Tejanar checked their own instruments. We detected this radiation, but did not consider it relevant. Our drives have operated near similar stars before. Paul walked around the drive core, thinking, but maybe not exactly like this one. What if the specific radiation signature is creating a resonance effect with your xanthium, like striking a tuning fork at exactly the right frequency to make it vibrate? The aliens conferred rapidly in their own language. Finally, Tejanar turned back. Such an interference would indeed prevent stable field generation, but we cannot modify our drives to compensate without materials we don't have. What if we built a dampening field? Lisa suggested, something to filter out that specific frequency. A shield, Paul added, growing excited. Not around the ships, but around the drive cores themselves. Tejanar's upper eyes blinked rapidly. With what materials? We have nothing that can filter this particular radiation. Paul smiled. But we might. On Earth, we've developed certain composites for our space program that absorb specific radiation bands. They're not as advanced as your technology, but they're designed for different purposes. Lisa pulled up the specifications from the Endeavor's database. This carbon ceramic composite we use for heat shielding might work if we reconfigure it. The veterans studied the human materials with obvious doubt. Commander Zintar had joined them and spoke directly to Paul. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. How could your materials succeed where our advanced systems have failed? Paul didn't take offense. Sometimes the simplest solutions work where complex ones fail. Your drives are designed to work with incredible efficiency in normal conditions, but our materials were designed to work in difficult conditions. It's like having the perfect racing car, Lisa added. It's great on a smooth track, but sometimes you need a rugged Jeep for rough terrain. Commander Zintar considered this. We have enough resources for perhaps one test of your theory. We'll need more materials from Earth, Paul said. And expertise. We have scientists who specialize in radiation shielding who could help. Zintar's crystalline features hardened. We do not have time for a return journey. Then we'll have to call for help, Lisa said firmly. We need a supply ship from Earth with the right materials and additional personnel. The commander was silent for a long moment. You truly believe your people can help us? Paul nodded. Humans are good at improvising solutions with limited resources. It's kind of our specialty. After a brief conference with his officers, Zintar made his decision. Send your message. But be aware, if your plan fails, 30,000 veterans will perish. As they returned to the Endeavor to compose their urgent request to Earth, Paul whispered to Lisa, "No pressure, right?" Lisa's expression was determined. "We can do this. We have to." The Endeavor raced back to Earth at maximum speed, carrying Paul Blackwell and 2 veteran representatives, Tejanar and a diplomatic officer named Kolvesh. Lisa Carter remained with the stranded fleet, continuing to study the drive systems. The return journey was tense, with Paul trying to explain human society to the aliens while preparing them for the inevitable shock their arrival would cause. Your species has never encountered intelligent alien life before, Kolvesh observed, his 4 eyes blinking in the pattern Paul had come to recognize as concern. No, we haven't, Paul admitted. Some will be afraid, others excited. Most won't know how to react. When the Endeavor entered Earth orbit, global communications networks exploded with the news. Video of the tall, crystalline veterans stepping onto the landing pad at NASA headquarters streamed worldwide. Some religious groups declared it the end times, others a divine revelation. Scientists celebrated while military forces went on high alert. President Hayes personally welcomed the aliens, a historic moment broadcast to billions. Today marks humanity's first step into a larger community, she said, her voice steady despite the enormity of the occasion. Dr. Alan Rodriguez, NASA's leading propulsion scientist, arrived within hours. He had assembled a team of specialists in radiation physics, material science, and experimental propulsion. The radiation signature from that star is unlike anything we've encountered, Alan explained during the first briefing. But the principles are similar to problems we've solved with our nuclear reactors. In a secured facility, scientists and engineers from 27 countries worked alongside the veterans. The aliens were clearly impressed by human adaptability, though they sometimes struggled to hide their shock at the primitive methods humans employed. "You still use physical wiring?" Tejnar asked, examining a circuit board. Alan laughed. "For now. But we're quick learners." Not everyone welcomed the alien presence. Senator Greg Phillips called for congressional hearings, demanding, "Why are we depleting our resources for alien refugees? What do they offer in return?" Corporate interests quickly recognized the potential value. Vincent Bradley, CEO of Advanced Dynamics, approached the White House with a proposal. "My company can provide all necessary materials for the rescue mission. In exchange for exclusive rights to any technology the veterans share." President Hayes rejected such deals outright. "This isn't about profit. It's about establishing humanity's place in the galaxy as a species that helps others in need." The work proceeded at a frantic pace. Alan's team developed a composite material combining Earth's best radiation-absorbing compounds with principles adapted from veteran technology. They called it adaptive shielding. "The material won't last forever," Alan explained to the gathered officials, "but it should hold long enough for the fleet to reach their destination." Manufacturing began immediately, with factories worldwide converted to produce the specialized material. Supply ships were prepared, loaded with the shielding and equipment needed for installation. Meanwhile, Kolvesh addressed the United Nations, the first alien ever to do so. "Your species is young," he told the assembled representatives, "yet you show remarkable courage and ingenuity. The Veteran Confederation will remember this." Some nations remained suspicious, contributing minimal resources or actively hindering the effort. Russia and China conducted naval exercises near the main launch facility, officially described as routine, but clearly intended as a show of strength. 4 weeks after the Endeavour's return, 3 supply ships stood ready for launch. Paul would lead the mission aboard the newly commissioned vessel Aurora. Over 200 specialists from various fields would accompany him, along with the precious adaptive shielding. The night before launch, Paul stood with Tejnar, looking up at the stars. "Do you think it will work?" the veteran asked quietly. Paul nodded. "It has to. We've put everything we have into this." "Why?" Tejnar's upper eyes blinked rapidly. "Why would your people exert such effort for strangers?" Paul considered this. "Because someday we might be the ones who need help, and because it's the right thing to do." As dawn broke, the supply ships lifted off, carrying humanity's best hopes and technology toward the stranded alien fleet. The journey back to the veteran fleet took 9 days. Paul spent most of that time working with engineer Nicole Weber, a specialist in advanced materials who had developed critical modifications to the adaptive shielding. The supply ships Aurora, Helios, and Challenger carried not only the materials but also specialized construction equipment designed for space assembly. "We'll need to create a makeshift dock," Nicole explained as they reviewed holographic plans. "The shielding has to be applied in multiple layers with precise alignment." Paul nodded. Lisa's last transmission indicated they'd started preparing attachment points on the veteran vessels. When they arrived, the situation had deteriorated. Several veteran ships had shut down all non-essential systems to conserve power. The fleet's outer vessels were completely dark, their occupants in hibernation chambers to reduce life support requirements. "You've returned." Commander Zintar greeted them, his normally imposing figure noticeably thinner. "We feared you might reconsider helping strangers." "We keep our promises," Paul replied simply. Work began immediately. Hundreds of human engineers in spacesuits floated alongside veteran workers, constructing a skeletal framework that would serve as a temporary construction facility. Nicole directed the assembly of the shielding application systems, her expertise earning respect from even the most skeptical veterans. "The radiation levels are higher than we anticipated," she told Paul on the third day. "We'll need to increase the thickness of the primary layer." This created a new problem. They didn't have enough material for all 87 ships. During an emergency meeting, Nicole proposed a solution. "We can't shield every ship individually. But what if we create a formation where the shielded ships protect the others?" She demonstrated with a holographic display, showing how the fleet could arrange in a specific pattern, with the shielded ships on the outer positions, creating a protected zone for the others during quantum transit. This would require perfect synchronization during the jump. Tejnar objected. "We can do it," Lisa argued. "We've been studying your navigation systems. With some modifications, we can link the fleet computers for simultaneous activation." Zintar approved the plan. "Begin implementation immediately." As work continued, tensions arose between different Earth nations. The Russian contingent, led by Dr. Mikhail Kuznetsov, insisted on applying their own version of the shielding to the ships they were working on. "Our formula has superior heat resistance," Mikhail claimed. Nicole examined their specs, but lower radiation absorption. "It won't work." The dispute escalated until Captain Ryan Foster, the mission commander, called both teams together. "We don't have time for national pride. Either we work as one species or we fail." His words resonated, and the teams integrated their approaches, creating an even stronger composite material. Not everyone wanted the mission to succeed. On the 12th day, security detected sabotage in the shield manufacturing unit. A technician had deliberately contaminated a batch of the material, which would have caused catastrophic failure during activation. "Why would someone do this?" Zintar asked, genuinely puzzled. "Fear," Paul answered. "Some people fear what your technology might mean for Earth." The saboteur was identified as an operative working for a coalition of Earth corporations worried about alien technology disrupting their industries. He was confined to the Aurora while work continued with heightened security. By the 18th day, 32 veteran ships had been fitted with the adaptive shielding. Nicole worked tirelessly, often going without sleep to oversee critical components. "You push yourself too hard," Selmore, the veteran ambassador, observed as she calibrated equipment during what would have been her rest period. Nicole didn't look up from her work. 30,000 lives depend on us getting this right." Selmore studied her with all four eyes. "My people have encountered many species in our exploration. None have shown such determination to help others with no expectation of reward." Nicole finally paused, looking up at the towering alien. "That's just being human." As the final preparations were made, Paul stood with Lisa and Nicole on the observation deck, looking at the massive construction they had created in the emptiness of space. "Do you think it will hold?" Lisa asked quietly. "It has to," Paul replied. "We've come too far to fail now." The day of the rescue attempt arrived with a tense atmosphere throughout the fleet. Every veteran and human knew they would only get one chance. If the adaptive shielding failed, the quantum drives would burn out completely, stranding everyone permanently. Captain Ryan Foster gathered the human team leaders on the bridge of the horizon, the command vessel coordinating the operation. "We've done everything possible to prepare," he told them. "Now we execute. Each team knows their position and responsibilities." Nicole Weber made a final inspection of the shielding on the lead veteran vessel. The material glowed faintly blue where it interfaced with the alien technology, creating a protective cocoon around the massive quantum drive. All shield readings are normal, she reported. Radiation absorption at 97% efficiency. On the Vedran flagship, Commander Zintar addressed his people. Today we place our trust in an alien species we didn't know existed 2 months ago. They have worked without rest to save us. Whatever happens, the Vedran Confederation will remember their courage. The fleet had been arranged in the protective formation Nickel designed. 32 shielded ships surrounded the others, their positions calculated to create a quantum field bubble that would encompass the entire fleet during transit. Paul and Lisa stationed themselves in the engineering control center of the flagship, working alongside Tejanar to monitor the drive systems. Synchronization protocols active, Lisa reported. All ships reporting ready status. Then their instruments detected something alarming. Solar flare forming, Paul called out. Major eruption in progress from the star. Tejanar quickly calculated the impact. The radiation surge will hit us in approximately 20 minutes. It will overwhelm our shields if we're still here. Can we launch now? Lisa asked urgently. The drives need another 30 minutes to reach full power, Tejanar replied. Ryan's voice came over the communication system. We need options, people. Nickel studied the data and made a decision. We can modify the shields to handle the flare, but I'll need to adjust each one manually. There's no time, Zintar objected. Get me to the construction platform, Nickel insisted. I can reconfigure the control node to boost all shields simultaneously. Ryan immediately ordered a shuttle prepared. I'm going with you. The small vessel raced toward the construction platform as the star's surface churned with increasing violence. The platform housed the central control systems for the adaptive shielding, but it had been powered down after completion to conserve energy. Nickel and Ryan reached the platform with 12 minutes remaining. They rushed inside, their magnetic boots clanging on the metal floors as they made their way to the control center. The system needs 3 minutes to boot up, Nickel said as she worked the controls. The flare will hit in 10 minutes, Ryan reported, watching the sensors. Nickel's fingers flew across the interface. I need to increase the polarity on all shield generators and recalibrate for the new radiation signature. Outside, the space around them began to glow as the first particles from the flare reached them. The platform shuddered. Structural integrity at 80%, Ryan warned. We need to hurry. Nickel finished the reprogramming with 5 minutes remaining, uploading new parameters to all shield generators. Their shuttle pilot called in. Captain, I need to pull back. The radiation is damaging our systems. Hold position, Ryan ordered. We're almost done. Nickel watched anxiously as the progress bar slowly filled. Upload complete. Shields reconfiguring now. They rushed back to the shuttle, which was already showing signs of radiation damage. As they pulled away, the construction platform's outer sections began to melt from the intense radiation. All ships, prepare for immediate jump, Zintar commanded as Nicole and Ryan raced back to the flagship. They barely made it aboard before the full force of the solar flare hit. The newly reconfigured shields glowed brilliantly as they absorbed the onslaught. Quantum drives at 98%. Tejanar reported. We can initiate jump sequence. All ships report ready, Lisa added. Zintar looked at the humans on his bridge, then gave the order. Initiate synchronized jump. Throughout the fleet, the quantum drives activated simultaneously. The adaptive shielding shimmered as it filtered out the harmful radiation while allowing the quantum field to form. For a tense moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to bend around them. Stars stretched into lines of light, and the entire fleet vanished from normal space, leaving behind only the drifting, melting remains of the construction platform. The quantum jump lasted 17 seconds in normal time. To those experiencing it, it felt both instantaneous and eternal. When reality stabilized, the Vedran fleet had emerged intact in the Lyra system, home to one of their largest colony worlds. Transit complete, Tejanar announced, checking systems throughout the flagship. All ships reporting successful emergence. A cheer erupted on the bridge. Veterans and humans embraced without concern for protocol or alien biology. Lisa hugged Paul so hard he gasped for breath. Nicole wiped tears from her eyes as she studied the readings confirming their success. Shield integrity held at 92%, she reported. Better than we projected. Commander Zintar stood tall, his crystalline features catching the light of Lyra's yellow sun. We owe our lives to humanity, he stated formally. This debt will be acknowledged before the Veteran High Council. Within hours, ships from the Lyra colony approached, bringing supplies and medical assistance. The colony governor arrived personally to welcome the fleet and meet the human saviors. News of your rescue has spread throughout veteran space, Governor Selvar told them during a formal reception. Never before has an unknown species accomplished such a feat. Captain Ryan Foster responded with simple dignity. We did what anyone would do when they hear a call for help. Not anyone, Selvar corrected. In our 1,000 years of space exploration, we have encountered 47 intelligent species. None have shown your combination of technical ingenuity and selfless action. 3 days later, a transmission arrived from the veteran homeworld. The High Council requested a formal meeting with Earth representatives. This news caused excitement among the humans, though they worried about the 3-month journey it would take to reach Veteran Prime. Actually, Zintar informed them, that will not be necessary. He led Paul, Lisa, Nicole, Ryan, and the other human leaders to a massive structure on the colony's surface. Inside was a technology humans had never imagined. A quantum entanglement communicator that allowed instantaneous connection across any distance. We will speak with the council now, Zintar explained. The room darkened, and suddenly holographic figures appeared. 7 veterans wearing elaborate ceremonial attire. They studied the humans with interest. We have reviewed the reports of your actions, the first counselor stated. The Veteran Confederation hereby extends formal recognition of humanity as a spacefaring civilization with all associated rights and privileges. Ryan stepped forward. Thank you, Counselor. Earth is honored. More than recognition is due, the counselor continued. We offer humanity access to our interstellar network. Your ships will be welcome at all veteran ports. Furthermore, we propose a knowledge exchange. Not all our technology, but enough to help your species advance safely into the wider galaxy. The implications were staggering. This would advance human development by centuries. What do you ask in return? Nicole questioned cautiously. The counselors seemed surprised by the question. You saved 30,000 veteran lives expecting nothing in return. We offer this gift in the same spirit. Later, as they prepared to return to Earth with the news, Lisa found Paul staring out at the stars from an observation dome. Thinking about how much everything will change, she asked. Paul nodded. We're not alone anymore, and we've made quite an entrance onto the galactic stage. By doing what humans do best, Lisa added, solving problems with whatever we have on hand. When they finally returned to Earth a month later, they arrived with 10 veteran diplomats and technical advisors. The planet had changed during their absence. Nations that had been rivals for centuries now worked together, preparing for a future among the stars. At a global celebration ceremony, Commander Zintar addressed the billions watching worldwide. Your species was unknown to us 3 months ago. Now your name spreads throughout known space. When others speak of humans, they will say, these are the people who answer when called. These are the people who help strangers in need. These are the people who face impossible challenges with creativity and courage. He raised a ceremonial crystal that caught the sunlight, splitting it into a rainbow of colors. Humanity's first step into the greater community of intelligent life was not with weapons or demands, but with open hands offering help. The galaxy will long remember how humans were called to save a stranded alien fleet. And answered.